Some wounds never heal, they just harden into rage. Two sisters grow up marked by fire, raised in the shadow of a monster they've never met. When their dying mother delivers one final request, they must choose between justice and survival. But hunting a man like their father doesn't come without consequences. And before this story is over, the fire that started everything will burn again. It begins in a field, with two little girls sitting apart from the other children. Her twin sister Racine doesn't hesitate. She grabs a plastic bat and starts swinging, hitting every child who dared laugh at her sister. When it's over, Racine wraps her bloody hand around Anaya's shoulder. From the very beginning, this is who they are, one who protects with fury, one who endures with silence. Years pass. Racine and Anaya grow into adults, but not much has changed. They live together, work together, and move through the world carrying the weight of bodies that bear the mark of something terrible. Racine is sharp-edged and dangerous, always a breath away from violence. Anaya is softer, more cautious, someone who has learned to shrink herself down to avoid drawing attention to her scars. Together, they balance each other, or at least try to. At work one day, a woman catches sight of Racine's burned hand and pulls her face into a look of disgust. When she does the same to Anaya, Racine doesn't think twice. She unleashes a volley of insults and the confrontation spirals until both sisters are fired on the spot. They walk home with nothing, but Racine walks with her chin high. She will not let anyone make her sister feel small. Back at their apartment, a letter is waiting. It is from their mother, a woman named Ruby, though the people around her call her something else. God. The sisters haven't seen her in years. There is hesitation, resistance, old pain sitting in the silence between them. But eventually, they go. What they find is a woman destroyed by fire. Ruby lies in bed, her body a landscape of burns so severe she can barely move. She is close to death, and she knows it. With what strength she has left, she tells her daughters the story they were never allowed to know. Their father, a man she only calls man, was not just absent. He was a monster, controlling, abusive, terrifying. When Ruby refused to submit to him one night, he set her on fire. The girls, just children at the time, were locked in the bathroom while it happened. Anaya tried to crawl out and pull her mother to safety. That act of bravery cost her. She took the worst of the burns. Ruby looks at her daughters from her bed of ash and makes her dying wish clear. She wants man found. She wants him dead. She wants it done by the two people who have the most reason to do it. Anaya pulls back. She is not built for this, and she knows it. Racine doesn't say much. She doesn't need to. The fire in her eyes is already burning. And when the twins hesitate, Ruby calls for her servants to pull back the blanket covering her body, revealing the sight removes any remaining argument. Whatever reluctance Anaya carries, it gets buried. Ruby gives them a starting point. After he burned her and disappeared, man moved on to a woman named Divine, a preacher, a woman of God, a woman who believed she was loved. The sisters find her church without much trouble and walk inside, observing the congregation. Divine is commanding and charismatic at the pulpit, the kind of woman who radiates certainty. Beside her is her son Ezekiel, a young man with something fierce and wounded behind his eyes. He is man's son too, a half-brother the sisters are meeting for the first time. The twins approach Divine after the service and ask about man. They want to know where he is. But Divine, despite everything, is still waiting for him. Man abandoned her and Ezekiel just as he abandoned Ruby, but she has convinced herself he will return. Her faith in him is a kind of madness, the irrational loyalty of a woman who loved a man who destroyed her. She refuses to help. She won't give up a single word about where he's gone. But Racine doesn't leave empty-handed. On the way out, she lifts Divine's address book without being seen. It's enough. The book leads them to a lawyer named Chuck Hall, a mute man who spent years extracting man from the legal consequences of his own cruelty, including the time Ruby took him to court over the fire. When the sisters arrive at his home, they walk in on something strange. Chuck is paying a woman to beat him. He explains, through a marker and whiteboard, that he is preparing himself. He believes death is coming, and he wants to be ready for it. Then he shows them why he is mute. Man cut his tongue out, insurance, to make sure Chuck could never speak about the crimes he helped bury. Chuck thinks the sisters are walking into something they cannot survive. He warns them, but he also tells them what they came to find out. Man has a new life now, a new wife, a woman named Angie, and twin sons. The sisters take the information and head back to their car. Before they can leave, a motorcycle tears into the lot. The rider doesn't slow down. He pulls out a hammer and destroys their engine, methodical, deliberate, and then comes after them on foot. A fight breaks out, fast and brutal, with the sisters eventually getting the upper hand. They rip the helmet off. Ezekiel stares back at them, breathing hard. He tracked them down. He wants them to stop. He screams at them that their mission is pointless, that nothing good can come from it, that man is not worth the cost. They don't listen. They lock him in a nearby shack and leave him there, his voice fading behind them. Without a car, the twins walk. Eventually they spot Angie's vehicle and force it to stop. The woman who steps out is polished, composed, and dripping in the kind of wealth that comes from a man who provides. She is beautiful in the way of someone who has never had to fight. When Racine and Anaya tell her who they are, daughters of the woman man burned alive, Angie doesn't flinch with guilt. She sneers. She calls their mother names. She calls the sisters ghetto. Racine reaches into her bag and pulls out a sock with a stone inside. She swings it into Angie's face. Then again. Anaya screams at her to stop, and eventually Racine does, but the damage is done. Angie is left broken on the ground as the sisters take her car and keep moving. Man's house is large and quiet when they arrive, but Scotch and Riley, his two adult sons, are inside with a group of friends. The boys see two women walking in uninvited and immediately assume their entertainment for the night. Strippers. The sisters decide to let them believe it. They need to get inside. They need time. While they're getting ready in another room, Anaya pulls Racine close and tells her something she's been holding for a while. She is pregnant. There is no time to fully sit with that. The performance begins. The sisters dance. But it doesn't take long before the cruelty surfaces. Scotch and his friends tell Anaya to turn around, to face away from them. They don't want to look at her scars. Anaya steps away, retreating into another room. Riley follows. Unlike his brother, he is gentle with her. He speaks to her like a human being. In a house built by a monster, Riley somehow turned out kind. In the main room, Racine keeps dancing, and then stops. She reaches for the rock sock. She slams it into Scotch's throat. He crumples, choking on blood, the sound of it filling the room. His friends scatter in every direction, flooding out of the house in panic. Riley, hearing the commotion, finds his brother on the floor and breaks apart. Grief and rage collide inside him. He turns on Anaya, coming at her with everything he has. Racine jumps in to defend her sister, but Riley is bigger and stronger and his hands find her throat. He squeezes. Racine's vision starts to go dark. Anaya looks around. She grabs a pair of garden shears from nearby and drives them through Riley's back. He staggers. He falls into the pool and the water goes still. Anaya rushes to Racine and shakes her, trying to bring her back. Racine doesn't respond. Then headlights sweep across the driveway. Man is home. Anaya drags her unconscious sister and hides beneath a table. Man walks in, moves through the house, and finds his sons. Something shifts in the air. He knows. He scans the room slowly, and then he speaks, not angrily, not desperately, almost calmly. He knows someone is there. Anaya steps out from the shadows. She stands in front of the man who burned her mother and locked two children in a bathroom while the world caught fire. Man looks at her. He allows questions. She asks him why he did it, why he burned her mother. He answers. He says Ruby wouldn't let him touch her. He says he regrets it, and the words come out hollow and practiced, the rehearsed remorse of a man who has never felt it. Then Anaya tells him she is pregnant. He slaps her across the face. He raises himself to his full height and prepares to end her, but behind him, Racine's eyes open. She pulls herself up from the floor, and together the two sisters go at their father. They hit him, they push him, they drive him backward through the house until he is cornered in the bathtub, crouched and trapped. Then Racine grabs a bottle of liquor and douses him in it. A match drops. The fire finds him fast. Man burns the way he burned them, screaming and helpless and completely at the mercy of the person who lit the flame. But as the sisters turn to leave, Man's hand shoots out from the fire and seizes Racine. He pulls her in. The flames take them both. Anaya screams, reaching, but there is nothing she can do. The house fills with smoke and heat and she has to run, stumbling out into the night, leaving behind the sister who swung the first bat, the sister who always came back swinging. In the aftermath, it is Anaya's voice that carries the story home. She walks away from the wreckage of that house, away from man, away from the fire, away from everything that was done to her family. Months later, she gives birth to a daughter, and she makes a promise, quiet and fierce and unbreakable. She will keep Racine alive.